Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. I'm well, all good to hear. All is well in Dharma land. A little saying that I had years ago. Actually, it was in response to my father's comment about, he said, Buddhism equals goodism. And I thought that was quite cute, quite wise actually too. Anyway, let's do the chanting and before the meditations and then the Dharma talk. Continuing our commentary on the 8 verses of thought transformation. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. These remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddhist way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme. Om Mani Padme. Tayata gate gate para samgate bodhisu. Tayata gate para samgate bodhisu. Tayata gate para samgate bodhisu. So now let's do some meditation, initially to release the tension in the body. So bring your mind inside your body, gently close your eyes, lips gently touching, tongue resting on the upper palate, above your top teeth in your mouth. Nice and relaxed, but not lazy, not slouching. And from the tips of the toes all the way up your legs, and then up to your shoulders, then down to the tips of your fingers, then back up to the top of your head. Release the tension. So we'll take a few moments to do this now. And scan your body once more to see whether there's any leftover tension that you can release. And when you've done this, bring your focus initially to the tip of your nose. And the object of the meditation, as per usual, is the breath, or the feeling of the breath as you breathe in your nose all the way into your lungs, and then back out your nose again. You may notice that the air as you breathe in on the back of your throat is quite cool. And then after it's been inside the lungs, quite warm as it passes on its way out. You may also notice, may be helpful to notice that as you breathe into your lungs, they expand. Because of this, or due to this, the stomach rises a little bit. And as you breathe out, the lungs compress and the stomach drops a little bit. These extra details may help you focus on the feeling of the breath as you breathe in and out. Another extra technique is to use counting the breaths. So you count one in-breath and out-breath. That's one, and so on and so forth. Then you count up to 10 only, because we don't want the counting to become the focus. If you get distracted while counting to 10, then go back to 1 at that time. Breathing in, breathing out. We are focusing on the most important thing physically that we do, the breathing process, without which there is no life. Just as a painter, if it doesn't have a surface, if they don't have a surface to paint on, they cannot paint. You cannot paint on thin air. Also, focusing on the breath tends to bring the mind inside the body, letting go of the past, letting go of thinking about the future, and helps you to remain in this present moment. Focusing on the breath helps you to develop, improve and develop your concentration, to eventually become samadhi, one-pointed concentration. And also the breath is coming and going all the time, never staying the same for even a tiny moment. It's impermanent, interdependent with the previous breath, leading to a future breath, dependent upon your body. And the meditation is dependent upon your mind focusing on the breath. You can see how all of these components are interdependent. So having said that now, focus on your breathing. If thoughts arise or any mental activity arises, don't cling to it. Don't grasp at it. Also, don't try to force it away or deny it, but simply and gently let it go naturally by replacing the mind back onto the breath. And if your mind starts to become dull or sleepy, slothful, then wake it up a little bit by refocusing on your breath more brightly. So let's practice like this for a little bit in silence. So now you can feel very pleased with yourself and fill yourself with friendliness, loving kindness, appreciation, and respect. You can have the wish here as well. May I be happy. May I engage in the causes of happiness. May I be free from suffering, and may I engage or avoid engaging in the causes of suffering. May I work my way towards supreme enlightenment. Now we will switch techniques to the Tong technique, giving and taking meditation. We'll do it very simply today. Bring to mind the suffering of others. And you can also bring to mind that we are all interrelated. The beings have been some way involved with our lives from the infinite past to the present. and will be into the future. So we have the wish that you yourself would like to free all sentient beings from suffering. And also, you yourself will give them all of your happiness, all of your good qualities, and the like. So let's now start with the visualization. Do the best you can to, in front of you. It doesn't matter how many living beings you're able to imagine are there. That's like infinite sentient beings. All of the living beings, whether you know about them or whether you regard them as friends, strangers or enemies, whether you love them or whether you have fear for them. All of these living beings in front of you. And now visualize from their heart center comes black smoke towards you, and it enters and melts into your heart center. You are freeing them from all of their suffering with great compassion, and at the same time destroying your self-centeredness, and therefore opening your mind up to being more compassionate. And now cease that part of the visualization and visualize white light coming from your heart center and radiating to them, to their heart center, giving away everything you find pleasing, all of your good qualities, good karma, merit, and so forth. To all of these living beings, giving them the happiness and helping yourself to be free from attachment. And now we will do this alternating with the breath. On the inhalation or the breathing in, you visualize the black smoke coming from them to your heart center. And breathing out, you visualize white light going from your heart center to their heart center. So we'll do this for a short time now. Try to be genuine in this practice, even though we may have to force it a little bit for a while. Really wish that you are freeing them from suffering, destroying your self-centeredness, that you are giving all of your good qualities and giving all of your happiness to them, that they are experiencing this happiness. And so now you can cease the visualization and feel very pleased with yourself and pleased with all living beings. Let's recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, rise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And so, I hope you enjoyed the meditation there. I thought I'd kind of keep it simple as possible. And so try your best over time. I know some people say that, oh, I find it hard to visualize for any length of period, any length of time. And so just be patient with yourself, and just as you do it, it becomes more natural to do so. At very least, have the feeling that this is happening. In fact, the visualization helps with the feeling. We're always visualizing. Remember that. We always, if I say to you, car, then I think what just came up in your mind was some sort of visual image, mental image of a car, of the concept of a car. Maybe even a sound came up, boom, If I say to you something like husband or wife or partner or spiritual guru, maybe you have some sort of image of these people or this person in your mind right now. Always having some sort of mental images, mental sounds, mental feelings, and mental beliefs. They are always present in our sentient being existence. Okay, so last week we finished up on the overviews, and also we started by reciting the verses for generating bodhicitta. And I'll just reiterate a couple of points. So it is very helpful to recite prayers or these verses that relate to generating this bodhicitta. Whether you decide to do these three altogether or realize that in the preliminary prayers that we chant before each class, and that maybe you do daily, hopefully, then you're already doing this. So generating the mind for bodhicitta and taking refuge at the same time, I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas. May I soon attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. This is the same. And then, of course, adding the 4 immeasurable prayers is the same. And then adding the 4 great vows of the Bodhisattva is the same. You're generating this mind of bodhicitta. So I share with you what I actually do. So there's 3 verses here. Okay, so the first one says, with the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha until I reach supreme enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening, for the benefit of all sentient beings. Long as space remains, long as sentient beings remain, I too shall remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Okay, they're the 3. What I do, when I recite the 4 great vows of the Bodhisattva, I finish that up. I put it together, I should say, with this last verse. So, however innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, about to follow it completely. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, I too shall remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Okay, so I guess you'd say put them together, but it's all about generating the bodhicitta, the great compassion, great altruistic intention. Okay, so I wanted to mention that today. So reciting these verses is very, very helpful for our practice. Helps to sort of rein the mind in, but also at the same time, it helps to habituate the mind. It's like we are planting seeds in our mind and reinforcing at least the wish, the aspiration to develop this bodhicitta. Reflect on the meaning of these words, not just do them blindly. It's important to do that as well, but also don't get caught up on the words either. Remember, the words are there so that we can have some meaning, but even the meaning of specific verses or even lines or even words, don't get caught on that either. All right, so these are methods that we need to put into practice. Okay. So let's enhance our altruism and enhance our compassion. So there's a few things I wanted to reiterate, right? So we should practice as much as we can, generate this bodhicitta, and really strive to realize the supreme wisdom. In other words, realize the relative bodhicitta and the ultimate bodhicitta eventually. At very least, as I mentioned last week, be warm-hearted. Don't be nasty. Don't be vindictive and spiteful. Even if others are really nasty, don't be that way yourself, because it will not only stop at that time your progress on the Dharma path, it actually is said, especially if it's based on fully blown anger, it destroys so much good qualities, so much good karma at that time, at that moment. So be careful, be at least warm-hearted. Catch yourself if you start to get a little bit on the negative side, like that I just mentioned. Catch yourself and regret it, have positive regret, then resolve to do your best and have this habit, destroy this habit eventually. At very least, decrease the possibility of it arising. And don't blame things outside. Okay, don't blame other people for it. Don't blame certain circumstances. Hitting your head on a cupboard, for instance. Don't blame something like that. This comes from our own mind. These are our own habits. Okay, take responsibility. So these types of attitudes, as I just mentioned, now brings happiness, and also creates the causes for us to eventually, over time, realize enlightenment. Taking care of others is another thing I wanted to point out. Taking care of others actually benefits you. Of course, the other person or the innumerable people or beings, they will benefit too. But you actually have to realize as well that you are the one that benefits in the beginning. So this should give rise to more enthusiasm to care for others. I also wanted to mention, and I didn't mention this last week, in relation, we're talking about mother-like sentient beings. We're talking about all sentient beings through the infinite past, up to the present, into the future. We're all interrelated. We're talking about that. Now, this obviously is dependent of our understanding of this, and our ability to practice this and develop it more and more is dependent on our belief in the law of karma, in karma and vibhaka, or the cause and effect, and also in rebirth, because coming from this law of karma comes what we call rebirth, whether we believe it on sort of this little bit superficial way of saying, okay, I have this body now, then I have pass away in this body, and when the causes come for that, or the effects, you could say, of the causes, that's the results at that time, and then next time I have another body, or I have another existence, another realm. You can think like that, that's fine. But we do have to have some sort of belief in this to be able to, really have a conviction in this practice, obviously. But think about it maybe on a more subtle level. Every moment comes into play, conditions the next moment. This moment of consciousness conditions the next one. And of course, this consciousness eventually conditions physicality as well in this life. But in this life, things are changing all the time. It looks like they stay the same. But actually, constant change, constant impermanence, constantly becoming something else. Okay? So it's important to, even if it's superficial right now, have a belief in this universal law of karma and utilize your ability to investigate and analyze and contemplate to be able to get to understand the interdependent nature of all phenomena and eventually the empty nature of all phenomena. Okay, so important that we do that. And that'll do for that. Because we've already spoken about the law of karma in great detail at different times. So now we're actually on to the verse 1 again with the detailed commentary. Some of this I've already covered, but I may go into a little bit more detail. These notes that I took were months ago now, so I had a quick look at them just now, just before class, but I decided I didn't want to look back into it again because I'd already spent some time in deciding what I was going to talk about during these detailed commentaries. I'll add some different examples if I feel like, if things are not clear, then get in touch with me and I will clarify both for you personally as well as in future classes. All right, so this is going to take some time. I mentioned to you before as well that with the commentaries, we tend to, the first one, second one, third one, whatever, the early ones, early verses, I mean, they tend to have a lot of commentary. The last lot of verses have less because they've already covered it in the first lot. Okay, so if, like, for instance, if I take whatever amount of time, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever, to go through the first verse, don't think, oh, how long is it going to take to go through 8 of these things? No, they'll be quicker. Some of the verses is not so much commentary because, like I said, it's covered in the early verses. So the notes that I've made for myself here, this verse, the first verse, with the wish to attain enlightenment for the welfare of all sentient beings who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, I will constantly practice holding them dear. Obviously, it's about cultivating a sense of holding dear all sentient beings. Now, all sentient beings, okay? Not leaving any out. Work yourself to become equanimous. Even if things still bug you, even if some beings, some humans really bug you, even if you love some very much, have a lot of affection for, a lot of attachment towards, do your best right now in the practice, in listening to this Dharma talk, but also when you practice this, do your best to have an equanimous mind of equanimity. It may be, you have to force it, it's okay, but don't force it too much because otherwise you could tie yourself in the Dharma practice. Remember, the practice of the Dharma is also known as the middle path or the middle way. Always go back to that. If you're trying too hard, relax a little bit. You try to increase it a little bit, not too fast, not too slow, like that. Develop an attitude that enables you to regard others as precious, kind of like jewels. Like jewels, for instance, I think more the jewels, the more precious, or the preciousness comes through their healing qualities, actually, and the energy that they may radiate or contain. And we may be able to get some goodness, especially physically and even mentally, can help us on the Dharma path. I think that's really where the preciousness is. But of course, even if you look at it from a worldly point of view, jewels, diamonds, things like that are precious in the sense of they cost a lot. They have a lot of material value. Okay, so you can usually, if you had half a dozen diamonds right now and you didn't need them anymore and you needed some cash, you could cash them in. And so this is precious to help you live, for instance. A very simple example. I say, so we should see these living beings as precious like this, and even more, the wish-fulfilling jewel. In other words, you have a jewel, let's say you have a jewel like this, a magic one. It's you could wish for anything that you want. These beings are more precious than that, okay? More precious than the genie in the bottle that can give you 3 wishes, okay? Maybe we should wish that the genie attain enlightenment too. That's the best wish. But why should we do this? We should never just follow these teachings blindly unless we have real trust and confidence in certain parts that we can't understand yet because we've experienced good results from other things we've practiced. Okay, but we need to know why. Why is it that we're practicing this? So the first consideration that we should have is, in one sense, we can say that others are our source of compassion and love. How can we develop compassion and love, metta, karuna, beyond limit by just extending it to ourselves, or just extending it to our loved ones. That's limited. That's not unlimited. It's not immeasurable. So all living beings are the source of our compassion and love. Bring that to mind often, especially if you're getting bugged by some others. And of all of our experiences of joy, happiness, and prosperity, they are the source of this. We don't experience the world without other living beings, for instance. Not only in our day-to-day dealing with others, day-to-day living, but also on the path to the Dharma. If you consider that, other living beings are kind of responsible for us to practice the Dharma from the outside conditions point of view. You, of course, take responsibility to practice inside and then through your actions and words. Yes, but it's others that we're practicing with. We're all sharing each other's time right now, even though it's still virtual. I'm giving you the teachings today. Other living beings have given me the teachings. You will teach others yourself at the appropriate times. So we're all interconnected like this. And even those beings that behave very badly towards us, they help us to develop more patience, which helps strengthen our mind, to help us to be more enthusiastic and energetic in our practice, develop the concentration, realize the wisdom, and so on and so forth. Okay. So all our desirable experiences are, and all of our aspirations are dependent upon the cooperation and the interaction with others. This is an obvious fact, I think. Like I said, even if they're difficult experiences, our interaction with others helps us to practice Dharma. Even if the interaction is only you thinking about them now, it's only mental. And this is an obvious fact, so I'll repeat that. All of our desirable experiences are, and our aspirations are dependent upon the cooperation and the interaction with others. Let's say, for instance, you asked myself or another Dharma teacher to give you a Dharma talk and they said no. Then you wouldn't get to hear the Dharma. If I myself as a Dharma teacher said, I'm going to give a Dharma talk, and then all of you guys said, no, we don't want it, I can't give the Dharma talk. We're all interconnected. Okay. So I think we leave it there, even though I didn't get into quite in depth as I wanted to today, but I did want to cover that, those notes about the law of karma. Okay. Having the belief and really having a strong conviction in this teaching. It will help us to realize the interdependent nature of all beings and all things. Okay. So I rejoice in your goodness. I hope you've enjoyed today's class. I have. And stay warm where it's cold. Stay cool where it's hot as much as